To celebrate the recording equipment, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the consecration of Archbishop Lefebvre, Operation Survival. And this Operation Survival, we want to consider a little bit into perspective how important, how essential this event was for each of the 7 billion people that live now on earth. Remember that God created the world. He said in the book of Proverbs, I am a selfish God. I have made all things for myself. God made everything for himself. Not only human beings and angels who have rational souls, who have a power of reason and free will, but he made the animals, he made the plants, he made the stars, he made the insects, he made all things for himself. And he gave reason, and he gave free will to us human beings so that we could freely do what all the other creatures do by necessity. And he gave us the power to freely do what all the other creatures do by necessity so that we could get a reward. When the dog barks, when the dog bites, the dog is just being a good dog. And he's doing what he has to do to follow his instincts. When a rock travels through a window and breaks the window, it's just being a good rock. Not doing anything good or bad, it's simply doing what God made it to do. Rock meets glass, rock wins, glass loses. No free will involved in the rock or the glass. But God gave human beings a free will. And now there are 7 billion of them on the earth. And every one of these 7 billion human beings was made to know, love, and serve God. Where St. Ignatius says to praise, reverence, and serve God, and by this means to save their souls. That's why everybody was made. What is tragic about our times is that about 7 billion of those 7 billion people don't know that. Very few know what is obvious to the animals. Some of the fathers of the church tell us that the great miracle of Good Friday, 3 p.m., was that the earth did not rise up, and the animals did not rise up, and all the creatures did not rise up to destroy man who had killed God. And the miracle was not the earthquake. The miracle was not that the sun was darkened. The miracle was that was all that happened, and that God held back the hand of nature. St. Anthony, in one of his famous sermons to the fishes, said, "O you fishes," outside of the city of Rimini, "you fishes have no brains. You fishes have no intelligence, and yet your lack of intelligence is greater than the wisdom and intelligence of these men of Rimini. For you have no brains, and yet you know you must worship your God. And I command you to give praise to your God." And thousands of fishes praised God at the words of St. Anthony. 25 years ago, Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre did Operation Survival. It was not, as the New Angelus tells us, survival of the SSPX so that a smile can bring forth another smile. You can read that on page 71. Beautiful reading. The beauty of a smile is that a smile brings forth another smile. That is not why Archbishop Lefebvre consecrated 4 bishops, and if he wanted to do that, he would have consecrated this one. This Operation Survival was for the survival of the Catholic Church, the survival of the Catholic faith, which faith is necessary for the salvation of every soul on earth. Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, and atheists all know that in their hearts they must serve God. You know that about 2 months ago, you know that Father Hugo, myself, and Father Giselle, we are now getting more frequent flyer miles than Pope John Paul II. And we're getting more frequent flyer miles than Father Couture, our superior in Asia, who flies all over the planet. Because we're flying around visiting the souls. We now have about 2,000 souls going to our masses in Asia and here, and in England and Ireland. And we visit these souls calling us. And on one of the airplane trips about 2 months ago, I was sitting in the back of the plane, my usual seat where I sleep. And a man sat next to me, and we started talking about the crisis in the world. And he said, "You know what, Father? I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. But I know He's mad." That's what he said. "I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, but I know He's mad, because I can see in the world around me that it's going crazy. It's going terrible." We're finding atheists know more than the present superiors of the Society of St. Pius X about the state of the world. Operation Survival, Sister Lefebvre and Bishop de Castromeyer, who are now in heaven and still excommunicated. These bishops, Bishop de Castromeyer said, "I must be here at this consecration, and if I was not here, it would be a sin." Because every Catholic has an obligation to stand up for the faith. And we did not only benefit our friends, we did not only benefit those who were members of the Society of St. Pius X. This Operation Survival benefited the whole world. And our enemies as well. Like Father Gruner was telling me a few months ago, he says, "You must consider the work Archbishop Lefebvre's consecration made it possible for you to have good enemies. It made it possible for there to be a Latin Mass in the Fraternity of St. Peter, which was created for the purpose of preventing people going to our Latin Masses in the Society. Because the devil knows that the Latin Mass is not what it's all about. It is the center of the faith, but it is the faith that is what is necessary, without which it is impossible to please God. The center of that faith, the principal expression of that faith, is the true holy sacrifice of the Mass. Not the modern Protestant bastard Mass of Vatican II. And St. Alphonsus said, "The world can be without the sun, it cannot be without the Mass." Because this is Christ, God living amongst us, and He is the truth that lives amongst us. And St. Thomas Aquinas says that our Lord Jesus Christ became man in order that He might publish the truth. As He told Pilate on Good Friday morning. On Good Friday morning, Pilate said, "Art thou a king then? Thou sayest it, I am a king. For this came I into the world, that I might bear witness to the truth." And the members of Jesus Christ are those who bear witness to the truth. We are each of us, whoever is baptized, we receive the obligation to be witnesses to the truth, each according to our position in life. We have children stood up against emperors and kings to bear witness to the truth. Those little girls, St. Lucy, Agnes, Cecilia, Anastasia, who stood up against the greatest empire of all time to bear witness to the truth. We are those who must bear witness to the truth, and whoever is of the truth hears my voice. Archbishop Lefebvre was only an ordinary bishop, just another of so many thousands of Catholic bishops doing the simple work of every Catholic bishop back in the 1950s. But then somehow the Catholic bishops went away. It said the time of St. John Fisher was similar. Many, many priests, bishops said, "You know, John Fisher, I'm on your side. But we have to be prudent." The magic word that is used ad nauseam in recent times. Solomon tells us there's nothing new under the sun. There isn't anything new under the sun. The size of this crisis is greater than any other time in history, but the nature of it is not. It's souls abandoning God, only now it's on a global scale. The answer is the return to the divine, to the truth of the faith. The return to the truth expressed in the sacred liturgy, which is the Latin holy sacrifice of the Mass. The new Mass is a lie. Therefore, it is an expression of the father of lies. We must stand by the truth. And Archbishop Lefebvre consecrated bishops that they might ordain priests, that they might confirm soldiers of Christ, in order that they might spread the faith. The smiling will come in heaven. We are not here to see the glory of man. It even says that in the New Angelus, the new website of the Society. Wonder at the glory of a man who serves God according to his own culture. Since when is that to speak of the Society of St. Pius X, the bastion of Catholic tradition? Operation Survival must continue. And that is why we're here today. The survival of the holy sacrifice of the Mass, the survival of sacraments that are valid, the survival of the faith. And it is also glorious that we have our celebration in a tent rather than St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Partly because they've had so many sacrileges there, we wouldn't want to have it there until they remove the sacrileges and do a removing of the desecration. Because remember, in the beginning of our church, 2,000 years ago, there was St. Peter. He was a bishop. There were 11 other bishops that were under him, and they never said Mass in a cathedral, ever in their lives. They never even saw a cathedral. St. Thomas built a few churches in India. They're not very beautiful. He hadn't perfected the design yet. St. Thomas built them. One of them is still standing in the tip of India. But he built little churches. St. Thomas was able to. Most of the other apostles were not. They came to build a faith. They said Mass in people's houses, the apostles did. They said Mass in tabernacles and tents, the apostles did. And they went to conquer the world. They were obeying the command of our Lord Jesus Christ in the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 28. Going therefore, teach ye all nations whatsoever I have taught you. That's what we teach. It is that which makes the Catholic Church different from all the false Protestant churches and the new church, Concilia Rome. They teach whatsoever they like of Jesus Christ. They teach whatsoever pleases them in the teachings of Jesus Christ. They twist his teaching. But Catholics are those who teach whatsoever he taught. It doesn't matter that we are few. That doesn't matter. The truth is powerful. The truth will bring victory. And Archbishop Lefebvre consecrated 4 bishops to publish the truth to the world. Consecrated 4 bishops in order to make priests who would be priests that are anti-liberal, anti-modernist, priests that are warriors. A priest is a captain in the army of God. It's no use joining the army unless you like war. St. Paul tells us that we are all at war. We are at war now. And our fighting is against principalities and powers. I remember when Archbishop Lefebvre consecrated those bishops, it was a major blow. We could say it was the second greatest major blow against the devil in the 20th century. The first major blow was St. Pius X. Pascendi, the anti-modernist oath, teaching of catechism to children, giving Holy Communion to little children. St. Pius X knew, because he was a pastor, because he had gone through all the steps of the hierarchy unlike any pope before him. He knew that if he wanted to defeat the devil, You must be as little children. And the best that behave as little children are little children. And therefore teach little children. He commanded that in every church, St. Pius X wrote 10 encyclicals on catechism. He commanded that in every church there must be the teaching of the catechism. Who made you? God made you. We're speaking to some of the children here today, given in their new catechism lessons according to the New Society of St. Pius X. Who made you? God made me. Oh no. Who made you? I don't know. I trust the priest. Why did God make you? I don't know. I trust the priest. One of my duties of the last 8 years in the society was visiting Nova Scotia priests and bishops. I visited more than 300 priests, more than 20 bishops. Many of those priests told me, I said, what do you believe, Father? Do you want to know what I believe? Yes, I want to know what you believe. You want to know what I believe? Yes, I want to believe. Go to the chancery. The bishop will tell you what I believe. One of them said, come back and let me know. So they believe whatever comes out of the mouth of the bishop. What is very disconcerting, Father Thiemann, good young priest, gave a talk, The Resistance to What, on April the 16th in St. Mary's, Kansas. Unfortunately, because of his busy schedule as a seminary professor, I guess he had little time to study what the resistance is teaching before he gave the talk on the resistance. But one of the things that he says in that talk is, read Lumen Gentium number 25. There's nothing wrong with Lumen Gentium number 25. How could any Catholic have a problem with Lumen Gentium number 25? And yet these resistance priests are complaining about Lumen Gentium number 25. Lumen Gentium number 25 says, we must believe whatever comes out of the mouth of the bishop. So whatever the bishop expressed with a firm will. So if the bishop says, I want you to believe with a firm will that these walls are purple, then we have to believe they're purple. And since you have to believe whatever the bishop teaches, you better know what diocese you're in. Because when you switch diocese, you have, I believe it's purple, but when I cross over this wall, that's the other diocese. Here it's green. No, it's purple. Here it's green. Some bishops believe the death penalty is bad. Other bishops believe that it's good. And they preach it with a firm will. So which do you believe? Well, it depends on what diocese you're in. According to Lumen Gentium number 25. No reference to the deposit of the faith. St. Paul said, if an angel from heaven teaches you something different than what I have taught you, let him be anathema. This presupposes that you can know what St. Paul taught. You can know what the church teaches. You're supposed to memorize that catechism. And St. Pius X said, heresy spread not because of smart heresiarchs, but because Catholics don't know their faith. If you come in here ignorant of the 20th century, ignorant of technology, you can come in and I'll say, I'm a very powerful man. I have the power of the gods. Watch. Light switch up. See? Light. Came from me. Wow, I believe that. Why? Because you're ignorant of the electricity. But if you know electricity, I can come and say, but I made the light turn on. You can say, no, you're an idiot. So by having the knowledge of the truth, you overcome the errors. That is why St. Pius X did not only write an encyclical against modernism called Pascendi. He commanded that the little boys and little girls know who made you. God made me. I have to check with the bishop. So that when a Catholic bishop or a Catholic priest stands in the pulpit and says there are many gods, you say, forget it. We had one catechism test in India. One of our boys that we actually baptized, the Hindus. And Father Couture said, okay, I'm going to test with you, little Anikit. So how many gods are there? There are many gods. He said, no, there's only one. Okay, no problem, only one. We have a good catechism program. So, we need to have a slightly deeper knowledge than that. If we really know the number of gods, then someone comes and tells you that there's more than one, you tell them to go get lost. We have to know our faith. And Operation Survival was about spreading the knowledge of the faith. And one of the things that it didn't only spread the knowledge of the faith to the Society of St. Pius X, It spread the knowledge of the faith to our enemies, because they had to research what these guys are saying. And they had to try to make up some kind of an attack against the society. Still very small. 560 priests. Visiting some dioceses where there are more priests than that in one single diocese. There are 60,000 priests in India alone. It's good money being a priest over there. A lot of corruption. But there's 60,000 priests. Only one country. We have four priests in that same country. And they fight against us in every diocese. The Hindus, no problem. But the Catholics fight against us. And they're terrified of us. We come into the diocese once in a month, once in 2 months. Say Mass for 25, 30 people in a hotel or in someone's house. And the bishop makes a firm excommunication. The bishop is terrified. And he should be terrified, because the truth will always destroy lies. And the truth is the only enemy of lies. You do not defeat lies with another lie. Lies and heresy are only defeated by the truth. What is necessary for us is to maintain that truth, stand firmly on that truth, live by that truth, be ready to die for the sake of that truth, and do everything we can to spread that truth. That's to be one holy Catholic and apostolic. Every Catholic is obliged to that. Priests more, bishops more, pope more. But this is the obligation of every Catholic. We find a tragedy on one side, that here we are 25 years after the consecration, and the 4 bishops who were consecrated Archbishops of Lefebvre, we find 1 here, 3 somewhere else. We should all 4 be together. But what unites them? What unites the Society of St. Pius X? Where is the strength of the society? Anyone who has any experience with the SSPX knows that we have no organization and we do everything wrong. That's just the way it is. It's always been that way. We are not gifted in organization. We try to use red tape. It's the wrong kind of red. It's the wrong kind of ink, and the tape sticks and it doesn't work. The SSPX was not designed for red tape. The SSPX was not designed for the modern idea of nobility. The SSPX was not designed for these things. It was designed for priests who have the faith to go in, do everything wrong, and yet it works because they have the faith. But what happened was, over the last 40 years, especially the last 18 years, the SSPX priest began to look at himself rather than his God. He began to look at his own self and his own comfort and his own greatness rather than the purpose of the priesthood, which is to suffer for souls and to be a victim for the good of the salvation of souls. Archbishop Lefebvre and his little boy wanted to be a priest for the salvation of souls. And he wanted to go to Africa. And he wanted to be a missionary. To save souls. God the Son became man to save souls. And bring them back as a treasure to his Father. He has more liking for Vikings than for modern men. At least the Vikings go in, they didn't like capturing cities. They went and captured gold and they brought it back. And Jesus Christ was like a Viking. He came down to go into this world, to fight in it, to conquer souls, and not to establish a heaven on earth, but to bring those souls back to heaven. That is why we call to this day the tabernacle. We must make Christ reign here below so that we can bring all souls to their true home, which is in heaven. And every soul has to go to heaven. We are in a global fight. It is exceedingly important that we are here. It is exceedingly important that we stand firm for the faith. We have with us Father Thomas Aquinas, who will give a little talk a little bit later on. Coming from Brazil. Benedictine monastery in Brazil. We have Father Joachim, the monastery of the family of the Blessed Virgin Mary. His superior, Father Jahir, was not able to come. He's 76 years old, but he sent Father Joachim instead. And Father Joachim is here as the family of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And Father Jahir, the superior of that monastery in Brazil, 12 very strong monks, a beautiful monastery built from nothing. They're true warriors for Christ. But Father Jahir told me that after the council, he was a young priest at that time, and he told me that I saw after the council that the church is unstable, that the church is changing. And so I had a kind of, it wasn't a vision, but an inspiration. An inspiration to found an order which would take a fourth vow, besides poverty, chastity, and obedience, a vow of stability. This is the vow we are taking in the Society of St. Pius X today, a vow of stability. Not the vow of stability, the old vow by which you stayed in the same monastery until you died, but a new vow of stability, which he said, the vow of stability of faith. He said, let the church change. Let the men change. Let them all change. But I will take a vow of stability of faith, and I will not maintain that stability unless I have Mary and the Rosary. And so they said the 15 decades of the Rosary every day. And Father Jahir told me, our monastery is built on Mary. It is built on the Rosary. It is built on the stability of the faith. And this is the only thing that preserves us. This is the answer to our crisis. We must preserve the stability of faith. And in the new Society of St. Pius X, the faith is dead. There are still good men. There are good men everywhere. We do not judge souls. But they are teaching modernism. They are teaching confused truth when they do teach truth in such a way that you will not get it. Read the New Angelus on the 25th anniversary of the consecrations of Archbishop Lefebvre. These are consecrations are very important, Operation Survival, for the survival of the Society of St. Pius X. Absolute foolishness. The Jesuits were founded by St. Ignatius, and they had many saints. They were more worthy of survival than the SSPX. But in 1741 or 1739 or whatever year it was that they suppressed the Jesuits, the Pope unjustly suppressed the Jesuits. He did it as an act of wickedness. The Jesuits obeyed. They did not survive. They did not do an Operation Survival. Why? We see the effects of that act in India, where I was a priest for 4 years. We see the effects of that act in the Philippines. Many souls were damaged because the Jesuits had to leave. But they left. Why did they leave? Because there were Augustinians, there were Recollectos, there were Dominicans, there were Franciscans, there were Capuchins, there were many other orders that had the faith and could take their place, and therefore they left. And they allowed themselves to be suppressed. The SSPX has no right to preserve the SSPX. The consecration of the 4 bishops in 1988 was not Operation Survival for the SSPX. It was Operation Survival for the Catholic priesthood. It was Operation Survival for the Catholic faith. There was no other bishop in the Catholic Church teaching the integral Catholic faith in 1988. And there isn't today in 2013 either. There was no other bishop having a Catholic seminary following all the traditions of the Catholic seminaries of the last 2,000 years and the instruction of the spirit of the priests. Teaching an integral faith without compromise anywhere on the planet Earth. And the church needs priests who don't have compromise. If it needed intelligent priests, 90% of us would never have been ordained. But the church doesn't need intelligent priests, though there must be some. Some there must be. The church needs priests who are warriors of faith, who are ready to die for the souls, who feel the need of souls. Archbishop Lefebvre was called in South America. He was called here in the United States. He was called in Asia. He was called all over Europe. And he went everywhere. Only a few seminarians, 9 of them the first year. Only a few priests, some of them very shaky, very weak. But within a couple of years, he already had priests more or less everywhere in the world. And so it is necessary to continue that work. The time will come When Our Lady allows the persecution to come back, it has always come to the church, it will come again. When that time comes, we ask the grace to persevere through that persecution.